Hello, boys and girls. Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast here once again to make you a cocktail. Today's cocktail is called the Spider Venom, and it is the featured cocktail in today's episode. I'm going to start, shake it with ice. To that, spiced rum, 1.5 ounces. Next, tequila, 1/2 ounce, tequila. Finally, Fireball. 1/2 ounce of Fireball. Then we shake. Next, we're going to take our glass with ice. I'm going to strain our alcohol. Then we're going to top it with 3 ounces cherry apple juice to make it healthy. There you have it, boys and girls. Spider Venom. Yeah, it's pretty good. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the podcast. See ya.
Sometimes you go into a film with a preconceived bias. For example, you might know an actor from a previous role, and let's just say you aren't expecting an Oscar-worthy performance. And this is very true of this week's episode of the Scary Spirits podcast, Kingdom of Spiders, and its star, William Shatner. But I must say Mr. Shatner is a pleasant surprise. Not Oscar-worthy by any means, but also not Captain Kirk on a ranch. And the man can ride a horse. Also, I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't praise the animal acting in this film. The spiders, cows, horses, and dog are all on point. In fact, almost Oscar-worthy. They kill it. Cheers!
Welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and/or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hi, I'm Greg,
Hey, I'm Karen.
and welcome to the 100th episode of the Scary Spirits podcast. The podcast that combines the two very different but highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed.
You ruined it.
Why?
Because I was going to ask you if you remembered what today was.
Karen, how could I possibly forget spending 100 evenings with you?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, could go one of two ways, but I'm going to look at it as a positive. That you remember it in a positive light.
You go with that.
You do you. That's what we always say. So we've made it to 100 episodes.
Hard to believe, isn't it?
It just flies by.
Seems like yesterday. Or 2 years ago.
Same diff. And what movie have you chosen for this momentous occasion?
Well, it's from 1977, Karen. The film is called Kingdom of Spiders. The reason I chose it is that this film stars Mr. William Shatner.
Do you have a man crush on him or something?
I do not.
Okay.
Although I was just watching him earlier on The Unexplained today. But and today just happens to be his birthday, Karen.
Well, happy birthday. And he is
a Canadian actor, Karen.
who's 82 years old.
He is 92 years old today.
Wow, I was a whole decade off.
No, he looks good for 92. I'll give him that.
Well, I haven't seen him recently, so I don't know.
He still has a series on The Unexplained.
He's done guest spots too, I know.
It just said a new season begins March 31st. So shortly
Good
after
for him.
his birthday. So happy birthday, Bill. I call him Bill, you know.
Yeah,
It's
well,
the way we roll. Yes, Kingdom of Spiders. I do have a cocktail too, Karen, in case you were wondering.
I think you might need one for this. What do you got?
The cocktail I have chosen is called the Spider Venom cocktail.
Go on.
Would you like to know how to make it?
Absolutely.
We're going to need 1.5 ounces of spiced rum, half an ounce of tequila, half an ounce of Fireball, and 3 ounces of cherry apple juice. We're going to take our shaker with ice. We're going to put the rum, tequila, Fireball in the shaker and shake to combine. Then we're going to strain that, at least that's what I did, into a glass filled 3/4 of the way with ice. And then we're going to top that off with the cherry apple juice. And then, Karen, we are going to enjoy.
I think this week truly exemplifies the movies might be iffy, but the drinks are solid. I like this drink a lot. I like the apple with the cinnamon, the spiced rum in there. And you know I like tequila. So I think it's a good one. It's very sweet. It might be too sweet for some people, but not for me.
I think it's good. And when you first put the juice in, it almost looks like a tequila sunrise because
A little bit.
it's kind of separate, but then it mixes down and it turns a nice, I don't know what it is, peach color or something, but it's good.
It's one of those that tastes a little bit too much like Kool-Aid and not enough like alcohol. Not Kool-Aid, meaning that you can't really taste the alcohol too much in it. Well, I probably added more apple juice than you did, to be honest.
Yeah,
I mean, I can taste the cinnamon and I can taste the spices, but it doesn't taste like alcohol to me, which is always dangerous.
Alcoholic, but I do get it.
Well, yeah, if you tasted it, you could tell. If you went down a line, you'd say, yes, this has alcohol in it, but it's not.
Like if you're on a date and someone put one of these in front of you and said, here, drink this.
No,
you know that it was alcohol.
If I was on a date, I'd probably order it.
Okay, Karen, should we give our friends and listeners time to make their own Spider Venom cocktail?
Of course.
Hold on. And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Karen, even though I picked this movie, might you have a brief synopsis for us? Just off the top of your head?
I do.
Go on. Tell me a story.
Arizona farmer Walter Colby and his wife Birch have a problem on their hands. One of their cows was just killed by a creature but they have no idea what the beast could have been. So they consult local vet Dr. Robert Hansen, who I call through the whole film Mr. Shatner, who becomes puzzled and calls in scientist Diane Ashley. Eventually, the duo discovers that oversized spiders are invading the small town, putting the entire population in danger as a county fair begins.
Thank you, Karen, for that brief and accurate synopsis.
Pretty accurate.
I had no idea. Well, I guess she does. They do call him Robert a couple times.
Right, they do. But he has a nickname.
I called him Rack the whole time.
Yes,
Rack.
That's his nickname.
Rack. Rack Hansen.
A little bit like Rock Hudson, but not quite.
Yeah. As good as TJ Hooker.
Is it? I guess he likes a good nickname.
Karen, where did you watch this film?
I ended up watching it on YouTube. Did you?
I did not.
Where did you watch it?
I started to, and I was like, this looks like shit.
And it sounds like shit.
It sounds
too.
like shit.
Yeah, it's bad.
It sounded like something was like a fan was going on in the background, like a
yeah,
constantly.
You do get used to it after a while, to be honest.
So I just looked up Kingdom of the Spiders full movie, and I found this website called moviesfoundonline.com.
Nice.
It's got a lot of movies in it, and it was a much better quality. It was like watching it on Amazon Prime.
Well, good. Then you're going to see a lot more than I did, because there were some some dark spots where I couldn't tell what was going on, and also some dialogue I couldn't hear even when I rewound it. I have no idea what they said.
Okay. Awesome. Are you ready to get into it?
Let's go.
All right. Kingdom of the Spiders from 1977. The film starts with credits.
Before we start, I should say...
You have questions already? Do you?
No.
Oh.
Well, no. But you can watch it on Amazon, but only with the Mystery Science Theater people commenting.
Yeah.
So I did start to watch it not knowing that was going to happen. And they do say 16 plus, violence, frightening scenes, alcohol use, foul language, sexual content. And then
not enough.
No, I wouldn't even qualify it. And then I thought, I wonder if this is a parody or something. I don't know anything about the movie. I've not seen it before. Had you?
Nope.
And then they started talking right away. And I thought, oh, it's definitely a parody and then it took me about 30 seconds to go, oh, wait, this isn't what I want to watch. So I did get the 16 plus and the warnings, but then I switched over to YouTube.
Film starts, we have credits as we're listening to a country song called Peaceful Verde Valley. And I wrote, it looks like Monument Valley because we see scenery.
Yeah, it says, I said it looks like North or South Dakota to me, but it's not.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Verde Valley, Arizona is where it's supposed to take place. Don't know if that's a real place or not. Is it? It is. Central Arizona. The Verde River runs through it. And then we see a guy with a cow. And apparently this is his prize cow. He's going to take it to the fair and going to win $1,000, Karen.
Yes, he's very excited about the cow.
And doesn't he call the cow Bertha?
I did not hear that, but...
Okay. So I thought he told his wife that Bertha, referring to the cow, was going to be the winner this year. But her name is Birch or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so her name is Birch. I thought he was talking to her, but...
Maybe he was. Because then he refers to it later as a he, and I thought, well, that's an odd name for a male cow, Bertha. But anyway, we see the cow out there grazing.
With a big old bell on.
Yeah, and apparently
it's a calf, actually. It's not, it's a calf. It's a young cow.
Apparently something is crawling through the grass towards it.
This was some excellent cow acting. That cow looks upset. Yeah. Something's coming.
I thought all the animals were awesome.
I did too, and I made note of it.
Then, there's some eyeball play between the cow and whatever's in the grass, it looks like, or something. And then it just cuts. And we see who we learn is Rack, also known as Robert and Mr. Shatner.
I'll probably call him Rack, but in my notes, I just said William or Shatner or Mr. Shatner.
And who we learn is Terry roping a steer, Karen.
Do you think William Shatner can ride a horse like that?
Hell yeah, he can.
It looked like him. Well, it looked like him.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't look like a double, but that was
he had a horse farm in Kentucky.
And you don't have a man crush? Not at all.
No, I don't, but I know things. I've seen him on other shows. Like,
it was impressive horsemanship, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, he's a good horse rider. Seen him on a couple shows riding horses, actually, as himself,
Yeah, but this is full speed roping a cow.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? They're not walking along a trail.
Nope.
It's impressive.
And Rack gives the steer an injection with a needle, Karen.
Big, long needle.
Then there's some teasing between Rack and Terry, and he chases after her and throws his lasso around her and ropes her too, Karen.
Yeah, and I didn't quite get this until the next scene, because all of a sudden he pushes her away.
I'm thinking they're like a couple or something.
Yeah.
And then she calls him John, and he gets all pissed off, like really pissed off. Yeah. I think he was going to kick her at one point. He looked like he was going.
But they're wrestling in the dust like a couple.
Yes. And then I wrote, apparently John is the name of Rack's brother. And he doesn't like to be called that.
Yeah, and I said there must be some family issues here.
Yeah.
But I
didn't really get. I said, is that John's ex-girlfriend or? But whatever. So we'll have to wait and find out, Karen.
Yes.
Then Rack has a pocket pager about 3 times the size of a normal one on his belt.
It is Rack, after all.
It goes off and there's an emergency or some shit. And so the farmer,
before he leaves, so they're wrestling around, she calls him the wrong name, and he rather harshly says, "I'm not my brother."
Mm-hmm. And
then he gets this emergency call. So we know she was sort of involved with his brother, like you said, but we don't know how.
Apparently I call him Colby, but his name, I guess, is Walter Colby.
Mm-hmm. I called him Colby too. Yeah.
He's brought the cow to see Rack because he's a vet. And I wrote, the cow don't look too good, Karen.
Again, excellent cow acting.
Yeah, it laid there, didn't move, and was foaming at the mouth on cue. And
and Colby thinks maybe she walked into a hornet's nest, but not really. He can't describe what's happening, but something's happening to the cow. He says he's got a lot of money invested in the calf, so he's very upset.
Doesn't he mention the Black Death or something too? And he says, is it the Black Death, Doctor?
No, it's actually
Black Leg.
Black Leg.
Okay.
Which, Greg,
yes,
is an infectious, non-contagious disease caused by Clostridium. Infection occurs when animals ingest bacterial spores while grazing.
Mm.
The bacterial spores penetrate the intestine and are disseminated via the bloodstream to the skeletal muscle, where the spores remain dormant. Following an event that causes low oxygen conditions, like bruising or damage to the muscle, the spores germinate, multiply, and produce toxin that results in muscle necrosis and hemorrhage. They're usually 6 months to 2 years of age, animals that are affected by blackleg.
Thank you, Dr. Karen. But it's non-contagious.
Non-contagious, infectious. And they last the course of the disease.
So if one animal gets it, that doesn't mean they all will.
No.
Right?
No, but if the spores are around, they could get it.
Okay.
They won't get it from each other.
Got it.
12 to 48 hours is how long it usually lasts.
Because Colby's awful worried that he's going to be quarantined.
Yeah, which I didn't quite get, but it could mean though that the spores are in his area. So they could, carry the spores out on their fur or, themselves or whatever.
So Rack takes some specimens from the cow, and I guess he calls ahead to Flagstaff and is going to he's going to deliver them to him or something. Yeah, he said he'll be there. Then he comes out and tells Colby that the calf died. Doesn't know why. Doesn't know.
But doesn't think it was blackleg.
Doesn't think so. But he's going to take, like I said, specimens to the lab in Flagstaff, and he'll let him know. Colby's worried he's going to be quarantined, just like I said. We cut to the gas station, Karen. There's a man driving a car there that's like a car/pickup truck with a steer in the back seat and the rooster and the
the comic relief.
And he's got a flat tire, but he only got $5. He can't afford no $18 or $20 for a used spare.
Right before this happens, before the gas station, which is all pretty much comic relief from start to finish, we do see the Colby's dog.
Yeah, run off,
which is important later. But it looks like maybe it's a border collie.
Yep, looked like that to me, Karen.
But yes, so then the guy says he's not going to pay $20 for a tire. He's just going to continue driving his cow, who's in the back seat, and the chickens on the flat tire. So the owner of the station stops him and says he'll get him a tire from the shed.
He'll find something. Then Rack pulls in to get gas. He starts pumping his own, Karen, just like he owns the place.
Yeah, he don't need no help. They do watch a crop duster
1977, you didn't pump your own gas all the time in 1977.
No, you did not.
If there was gas there.
True.
So the man looks for a tire. He finds one, but there's a spider in it, and it bites him, Karen.
So these spiders are tarantulas.
Yes.
We can just tell you that. And I wondered, because this man got bit. I mean, He acts like he did.
Yeah, he did.
So what happens if...
Rack gets bit several times, too, it looks like, throughout the movie.
What happens if a tarantula bites you? If a person gets bitten by a tarantula, the bite will probably feel a lot like a bee sting with pain in the area of the bite. It will resemble a bee sting too, with redness and some swelling. But because the tarantula's venom is weak, it's unusual to have more severe reactions involving anywhere else on the body except where you were bit. The only reason you would have a bigger reaction than just that bee sting reaction would be if you happen to be allergic to the venom, and that would cause a much bigger reaction.
Thank you, Dr. Karen. That's kind of what I assumed. So then a woman pulls up in her 1977 Mercedes-Benz.
I was trying to distract you from that, and it did not work, apparently.
And Rack is standing there, so she asks Rack to, fill her up because, she thinks he's the gas station attendant because he's pumping his own gas like he owns the place.
Did you say it was a convertible?
No, I didn't, but it is.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Any idea what one of those is worth, Karen?
Is now? Worth or was sold for?
Nope.
I don't know. It could be a lot.
1977.
I'll say
Benz.
$30,000.
You're in between the midpoint and the high.
That's where I like to be.
Average about $21,400.
Really? I thought it would be more than that.
Up to about 43,000.
Although to be fair, I still think 1970 was 30 years ago. So I'm still thinking it's not that old.
I know.
And then I realize, oh crap, it's 50 years old.
So she asks Rack if he knows a good hotel to stay at in town. And he directs her to the Washburn Lodge or whatever, right? He says, ML, take care of you. Then he tells her where the restroom is, and he drives off.
I did notice she was wearing white gloves, which I thought was a little odd, but she wears them often. Maybe they're driving gloves, because that's when she wears them, is when she's driving.
With her blue scarf. The next we see Diane, who is the woman that pulled in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Renting a cabin from Emma Washburn. What'd she say? They were $11 a night? Is that what she said?
The cabin's $11 a night. The room's only $9. But they're going up in a few weeks because the county fair is going to start.
That's right. And we learned that she is actually there. Diane is actually there to see Rack. But she didn't know she already met him.
Yeah. And Emma says, she asks Diane, are you a friend of his? And Diane says, no. And she says, well, if you aren't, you will be soon. So apparently Rack has a reputation.
Well, he's friendly.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
He's never met a stranger, Karen.
At least not a female stranger.
So next we see the sheriff at Rack's house, and they're having a Miller High Life, Karen. Lots of Miller in this film. I think it's product placement. Then the mayor drives up, Karen, and everyone's afraid that Rack will have to quarantine the Colby place because I guess news travels quick, Karen, and
in a small
Verde
town.
Valley. The mayor's worried because, you got the county fair or whatever coming up in a couple of weeks. And
only 3 weeks away.
That's right.
And he says there's a lot of money at stake, which is what mayors do. He's focused on the money.
So as they're sitting on the porch drinking their Millers and talking about the Colby place, Diane arrives.
The mayor's telling Rack, if you're going to have to quarantine it, keep it quiet. He doesn't want people not to come to the fair because there's something wrong in the area that would affect livestock, which is what happens at a county fair for all you city folk.
True, Karen. Hadn't made that connection, but you're correct. So Diane arrives and she, says she's a arachnologist. Yeah. And she has the test results.
She's from the Department of Entomology at the University of Arizona, which kept freaking me. Well, not freaking me out.
In Flagstaff? Is that in Flagstaff, Karen?
University of Arizona at Tempe.
Oh, well, he sent the samples to Flagstaff.
She's from the Department of Entomology, but spiders aren't insects, and entomology is the study of insects. So it says entomologists study bees, ants, beetles, termites, mosquitoes, and other insects. But then it says, when I looked it up, because I thought, well, they don't study spiders, but they do study insects as well as other related animals known as arthropods, such as spiders and scorpions. So arachnids and insects are both arthropods.
She studies insects, which are the food for arachnids.
But she knows a lot about arachnids.
Yeah.
But the university has sent her because they got a problem.
But the mayor wants to immediately know if they're going to have to quarantine. Diane says no. Sometimes I call her Ashley because that's her last name.
I know that was confusing.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, we got Rack Hansen and Diane Ashley. She does tell them that the calf was killed by spider venom. And Rack ain't buying it, I wrote. He doesn't believe, just as you said, a tarantula could take down an animal that size, right? Or a spider, period.
Yeah, and she says there aren't any red corpuscles left in the blood. So venom causes coagulation of blood and ultimately the occlusion of small blood vessels at the bite site. This leads to local skin and tissue necrosis due to ischemia. Hemolysis of red blood cells may also occur. So she's seeing I think it's hemolysis or hemolysis, I can't remember. But your red blood cells explode. And you also, then ischemia is a condition where the blood stops flowing to the restricted area, to the part of the body. So if you're bitten on the hand, eventually blood would stop flowing to the hand and then your skin would rot because you don't have any blood flow. Same thing with your heart or whatever. So it doesn't happen normally. She's just saying basically there's a fuck ton of venom in there.
Yep.
That's pretty much, and she wants to examine the carcass immediately.
Yeah. First Rack says it thinks it's a snake, but she says, no, it's spider, right? Venom.
Yeah. She identifies it as spider venom. And he says he doesn't believe it. And I like that she says, I don't care what you believe. She just wants his cooperation.
And I didn't make a note here, but he does ask her out to dinner at this point.
Yes, he does.
And then we cut to Diane having a drink at the bar at the Washburn Lodge. And she meets Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, who are also staying there, Karen.
They have a motor home.
Yeah, Vern and Betty.
And then it's kind of funny because they find out she's a scientist, which they never call her doctor. So I don't know if they just didn't do that or if she has a master's and not a PhD or something. But that doesn't matter. But the wife mentions, oh, you're a scientist? Well, you and my husband will have so much in common. And he invented the chemical toilet that they use at construction sites, is what he said, which just the only reason I mention it is it's something that they came up with. Like, okay, what can we have him invent that no one will know who invented it. You know, like if you're going to make something up, I don't even know if that would
even
be
if
easy
it was
to
documented, he says he sold it to his partners, so they would probably take credit.
Right. But it was just kind of funny. I'm like, what an obscure thing. Like, what would you come up with that you invented that no one could tell you? Like, what was the movie Romeo and Michelle or whatever when they said they invented Post-it notes or something? I don't know. It's just funny that that's a good obscure thing that no one's going to check to see if you invented the chemical toilet for construction sites. And then he openly hits on her right there in front of his wife.
Yes, he does.
It says, a pretty girl like you shouldn't be drinking alone. It's like, that's just rude.
Then we cut back to Diane in her cabin, and apparently she's getting ready to take a shower, Karen.
Of course she is.
As she gets in the shower, ominous music plays as the camera pans around the room, the cabin. And we see a tarantula climbing up onto the desk there, and it crawls into the desk drawer.
Excellent.
I called it a desk. It's kind of like what would you call it? Because it's got a mirror there. Is it like a thing?
It is a thing. What do they call it?
Are they wardrobe? It's not a wardrobe. No, it's a
dressing table.
Yeah.
They call it a dressing table.
Maybe that's what it is. So Diane.
But wait, let's just comment on the excellent acting by the spider.
Yeah, it crawled right in that drawer.
Yes, it did.
I actually thought, like, how did they make that spider crawl in that
I don't
drawer?
know. Did they like pull it with a string or something, or put a cricket in there? Maybe.
I don't know. But then Diane gets out of the shower. I thought we might have seen some side boob there for one frame, but that
when
was
she
all
gets,
we got.
Yeah, nothing worth noting. But when she gets out of the shower, that's when the spider drops into the drawer to hide. It's like, excellent acting. Excellent.
But she goes and sits down and she finds the spider. But she is not phased, obviously, because she's an arachnologist. She just takes the spider out and lets it go. Cut back to the Colby farm, Karen. Colby's looking for his dog.
Yeah, I was pissed. Damn it.
Yeah, this is the next day. Rack and Diane arrive because Diane wanted to look at the body of the calf if it was available, and she wanted to go to the farm the next day.
Yes, so the calf was in the refrigerator at
Rack's.
I almost said
Rack's?
Shatner's.
Remember Rack's roast beef, Karen?
Vaguely. But at Rack's vet place, the calf is in the freezer. So now they're going to go investigate the environment that this all happened in.
So then Colby's wife, Birch, right, comes running in and says she found the dog behind the barn, and he gone. They go back there, and Rack and Diane take blood samples. Diane looks at the blood and can tell immediately that the dog died of spider venom as well, Karen.
Exactly.
Dr. Karen.
I laughed at that too. And Rack says again, there's no way a spider can kill a dog or a calf. And she says, not one, but what if there were 100? And then Colby just drops that he saw hundreds of spiders earlier.
Oh, yeah, it's probably that spider hill over there.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that information, Colby.
Oh, yeah.
You could have brought that up earlier. That's what I was
those
thinking.
Hundreds of spiders I saw out in the field. You want to take a look? Yeah, they do.
So they go to the spider hill. Diane has her 35 millimeter camera out, Karen, and she's taking pictures.
Yeah, she's taking pictures like she's at a fashion shoot or something.
Did you make a note of her shoes, Karen?
I did not.
Okay. Because I thought she was balancing pretty well on those high heels she was wearing. They were like boots or something.
She's fancy for a scientist. Yeah, I think they were boots.
And Diane says there may be thousands of them in the hill. And Rack is like, I don't think DDT would take care of this. And then Diane says, Dr. Karen, that most spiders that large have become immune to DDT.
Yes, this film does sway a little into heavy-handed environmentalism. And that's one of the...
Does it?
That's where it starts. I mean, she's not wrong. Overuse of pesticides do cause insects to become immune to them, just like antibiotics.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Overuse of it's going to do that. So she's not wrong. She does pick up one of the spiders, and she says it's about 600 miles from where they should be. She puts the spider in a can.
Once again, Rack tries to get Diane to go to dinner with him.
Once again, she rebuffs him.
Shot down in flames.
He does say he's late to go see his girl.
Yes.
And then asks her for dinner. So, of course, she's going to say no because she thinks that he has a girlfriend, because that's how he describes it.
So Rack goes to see his niece, Linda, and Terry, who we learned was his brother's wife, right?
Yes.
So that's the relationship there that we saw earlier. He's not there very long.
Linda does mention that her cat ran away. And Terry apologizes for what happened the other day. And she says, you won't be with your brother's wife, but you take care of her like you were.
Yeah.
And they flirt a little bit.
Yeah, I think she wants a little bit of Rack.
Well, I don't think he would be against it either, at least
I don't either,
before this.
It's like he's trying not to or something. I don't know. Probably doesn't feel right about it, Karen. I don't know.
You're right. He doesn't stay long and he leaves.
Yeah. As he's leaving, he runs into Diane. As he's pulling out of the drive, she drives by. And he follows her, Karen.
Aggressively follows her.
Then he runs her off the road. Then he picks her up and puts her in the car. And he hops
This
in
was
and
so
drives,
weird.
and he forces her to go to dinner.
He flirts very poorly. He's like, you're so pretty for a girl. I was like, what the heck is... So you're right. He literally picks her up, puts her in the car. She says, nobody drives my car but me. Nobody drives my car. He just pushes her over, gets in, and drives the car. I just wrote macho bullshit.
So then they're at dinner, and we learn how Rack got his nickname.
Before you tell them that, so they're at dinner. He starts off right away and says, I don't believe in your spider theory. And she asks, well, would you believe it if I was a man? And he says, the only one who's being uptight about you being a woman is you, which is often what men will tell you when you point out that they're being macho bullshitty.
Do they?
You know, so I just thought that was interesting. Then I wrote eyeball roll.
I totally missed all of that, Karen.
And he did call Tempe to check up on her, said there's nobody better in her field.
Yep.
And then she asks how he got his name, Rack.
Apparently his brother John was a pool shark, and
He didn't like working.
No, John did not.
No, he did not.
But Robert was a hard worker and, earned all of his money. But then every Friday, his brother John would take it from him in pool games. And he kept telling him, rack him up, rack him up. So he got the name Rack because he was always racking him up. But we learned his brother was also killed in Vietnam, Karen.
Yes, another kind of political reference for the film. Second day he was there, he was killed. And the girl that he goes to see is his brother's daughter. Then they just start talking about spiders. Why would spiders turn aggressive?
He says that venomous spiders are loners and cannibals. If there's nothing to eat, they kill each other.
Then she sits back and goes, food. It's food.
Yes. And Diane hypothesizes that because of the use of DDT.
Ooh, you're throwing out some science terms.
Because of the use of DDT, they are killing off the spider's natural food source. And that is why they are now attacking livestock and other small critters.
Yes, they have to readjust their eating habits.
Is that a good scientific term for you? Critters?
I was going with hypothesizes, but
okay. Next, we cut back to the lodge or the cabin.
Diane has developed her own film in the bathroom.
I guess she turned her bathroom into a dark room, I wrote.
I've done that.
And she does find it odd when she's looking at the pictures that the tarantulas are not fighting each other.
While Rack is kissing her neck.
He's not kissing her neck.
Yes, he was. He was kissing her neck.
Not.
She calls this a scientific phenomenon. The spiders should be cannibalistic. If you put them together, they'll kill each other off. They don't colonize like ants or bees, but they're not fighting.
Diane says that she called the paper and learned that there have been lots of people putting in posts about lost pets.
He tried to kiss her again because when she says they don't colonize, he says maybe they found love and tries to kiss her.
Well, at that point, they do. Embrace and kiss, Karen.
Yeah,
And
they
then,
do kissy face after they find out. Yes. So she's hot on the trail that there are a lot of missing pets, which we already learned that the little girl's cat is missing. So she is seeing that, yes, they're using other sources of food.
They decide to burn the spider hill that night before it does any more damage.
Right then and there in the dark.
Hello, boys and girls. Thanks for listening to the Scary Spirits podcast. Karen and I really have a great time putting these episodes together. If you enjoy what you hear, please consider taking the time to leave a review wherever you listen. Reviews really help independent podcasts find listeners. The more listeners we have, the easier it is for people to find us. Now, back to the show.
They get to the farm and Colby's already there and he's got the kerosene in his hand. He was ready to go before they even got there. And they begin to walk out into the field and they stop and they all comment about how quiet it is, Karen. Colby says sometimes you could hear a pin drop. And boom! A bull busts through the fence and charges them. I think he gorges Walter Colby.
I thought he just stepped on him.
He may have, but he hurt his arm. But then the bull collapses and we see it is covered with spiders.
He said these spiders are financially crippling Mr. Colby. Because that was the bull that he bred to get this prize calf that was killed.
Yep,
so
that
now
was his prize bull.
As they thought originally, oh, it's okay. We can breed again. We'll get another calf. Well, now they can't because the bull's gone. Diane says maybe the Colby should stay in town until they get this figured out. And Mrs. Colby was like, no spiders are going to run us out of our home. But let's comment again on the excellent cow acting. That cow stayed down.
Laid there, yeah.
Covered in spiders.
Yep. Colby pours kerosene on the spider hill. We see the spiders all running into their holes.
Colby's arm doesn't seem to be affected right now while he's dumping the kerosene.
And he lights a strike anywhere match, Karen, and throws it on the fire. And there's a small explosion. I don't know where that came from, but it does catch on fire. And he yells, "Burn in hell, you sons of bitches."
Yeah, and the hill is burning, but all the spiders are leaving through the back door.
Yeah, we see spiders exiting from a hole a few yards away.
So I think during this film, we're supposed to think that the spiders are aware of what's going on and intellectually responding. There are certain times where they sort of seem like when she got out of the shower, it dropped into the drawer. And when, they light the hill on fire, they have an escape route, kind of like they are gaining intelligence along with their numbers or something. At least I think.
Nature finds a way, Karen. So next day, Rack and Diane go to see Linda and Terry because they go for a ride every Wednesday, go for a horseback ride. But now, Rack spot Diane, so Terry doesn't have a horse.
I couldn't tell if Terry normally went or...
Yes, I think she did. Because she says it's fine. He asks her, "Hey, do you mind?" And she says, "No, it's fine." And she runs into the house to get the food. And while she's in there, she cries, Karen.
She is crying. Everybody's crying over Rack.
Then we see back at the Colby farm, he's going to drive into town to get his arm looked at. Tells his wife to go in the house and stay away from the field. He will be fine. So we see Rack, Diane, and Linda horseback riding, and they stop to have a picnic. And they're high up in the mountains or whatever, and they see Colby's truck driving into town. Rack says, "Hey, that's Colby."
Yeah, he says, the great thing about this part of the country is everybody knows everybody. I was like, oh, that sounds horrible to me. I wouldn't want to know everybody's business all the time.
Next, we see Colby in his truck driving into town. And we see spiders crawling up his back. He puts the visor down and several fall onto his face. He screams. And we cut back to the picnic. Diane gives Rack a Miller. And I wrote, I think they have made a love connection, Karen.
You think?
At this point.
Yeah, she opens it and it's the pool tab that has the razor sharp edges on it.
I kept wondering, where are they throwing their tabs? But
back in the day, almost everyone cut their foot on one of those at some point.
On the beach.
You just pulled it all the way off. It didn't stay on the can like they do now. And it was so sharp, those edges.
Yep.
And they were everywhere because you're right. People just threw them wherever. And they were on not just beer, any canned drink.
Pepsi, Coke, Mountain Dew, Dr. Pepper, Mr. Pibb, you name it. So at the picnic, Linda is playing with her doll and digging in the dirt. Then I wrote, the horses seem to be spooked.
Excellent acting.
Yep, once again. Something appears to be creeping through the grass towards Linda.
Not only are they spooked and agitated, but their eyeballs got big.
So then Rack tells Linda, come on, we're going to get moving. And she walks away and we see a spider where she was. So they drive, I guess they're driving back to the house or whatever. And they pass police where the truck has gone off the road. Colby's truck.
Not just off the road, over a cliff.
Yeah, it's over a cliff. It's down in the gully. So the sheriff and Rack see it, it's Colby's truck, and they rappel down there.
Yes, they do.
And they try to open up the door to the truck to find Colby, and his head pops out. And I wrote, it's either all scarred up or covered in cobwebs, because I couldn't tell at this point.
He is encased in spider webs, is what I said.
Got to the sheriff at the farm. He's going to tell Colby's wife. But she thinks he is there to quarantine the farm.
They think that is the worst thing ever, to be quarantined. I'm not sure why, but yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
She makes the comment that you can't quarantine us. It'll kill Colby or kill Walter. And then the chief breaks down and grabs her and they hug. And
which was nice. I guess that's the one nice thing about knowing everybody is someone's going to be kind to you when something horrible happens.
Then we have a far shot and we can kind of tell that he has told her because she screams and cries and we see a spider in the foreground.
Watching, yes.
He gone. So then Diane is at Rack's clinic, I guess, and she gets a call from the nosy town operator.
Yeah, who says, Rack, you wouldn't happen to know where Diane is. And I'm like, well, they're in the lab. They're in the vet practice. That's where she's supposed to be. That's what she's there for.
So Diane gets the lab results and she says the venom is 5 times more toxic than normal.
I was like, only 5 times? Come on, man.
Then Rack she hangs up the phone and it just rings again. And Rack gets a call from the sheriff. And he's calling from the farm, and they have found 20 or 30 more spider hills on the farm. Cut to the farm. The mayor and the sheriff and everyone's there. The mayor wants to kill all the spiders with DDT, but Diane debates with him. Calls him an idiot or something, doesn't she?
He's not going to listen to her. They need to have the county fair in a few weeks. She says, it's not just a bunch of spiders. It's a migration caused by some sort of imbalance. She says, a lot of ignorant people like you have killed off all their food with pesticides. She's a little bit on her soapbox here. She says, there's millions of spiders and your town is right in their path. I don't know how she knows that. And she says they need natural predators.
She's hypothesizing, Karen.
Like birds or rats. I said, this is a little heavy-handed. And then the mayor tells the sheriff to just get the strongest pesticide.
Parathion, Karen.
Yeah, did you look it up?
I did, Karen.
Okay.
Did you?
Yeah.
All I wrote down is that it's highly toxic to humans and banned or restricted in most countries.
Yeah,
or highly toxic to things other than its target, which includes humans, right?
Well, it affects the function of the nervous system, and exposure to high amounts can cause death. Ethyl parathion, first registered in 1948. It was always kind of restricted or limited to certain crops, but by 2003, all uses were voluntarily canceled in the U.S.
Yes, voluntarily.
But basically, this is the point in this film, as in most sci-fi films, where the locals don't listen to the scientist. Dun, dun, dun. Right here. This is the moment.
So they're getting a crop duster ready to spray the whole town, he says, or some shit, doesn't he?
Well, there's some interesting banter here, too, because the sheriff says you can't spray that without the state's consent. And then Diane says, well, are you to the mayor? Are you going to take responsibility for this? And he says, well, the sheriff's in charge.
But I will do whatever I can to help him.
Which I thought was pretty funny. He just moved the responsibility right onto the sheriff.
So see the crop duster taken off. I'm going to spray the pesticide.
Well, but okay. Before we even go there, they load up the plane with the pesticide. Rack says, don't go anywhere near the town because this is horrible stuff, right? Does this place have no wind? Like, it's not like it's going to drop right onto the crops.
We did get the feeling that the farm was far away from the town.
Well,
he was driving through mountains and all kinds of shit, valleys to get to the town.
Still. And then when he climbs into the plane, what protective gear is he wearing?
Goggles.
So he's spraying all this stuff that is highly neurotoxic.
What are you supposed to wear?
I would think some sort of mask.
You think? You think they did? I doubt it. Crop dusters?
I would think so. Or they wouldn't last long with something like this. They're making a big deal of how potent it is.
Yeah, true.
Anyway, proceed.
That's probably why it was voluntarily.
Well, yeah, after it killed a bunch of people. Yes. And everything else around it.
Anyway, crop duster, he's starting to spray the pesticide, and he is attacked by the spiders in his plane.
You can see houses in the background when he's flying.
You can.
And spraying. It's like he's right in town. But I guess.
Well, he's fighting spiders. He's losing control. He doesn't know where he is because I said the others watch as the plane flies over to town.
Except spraying pesticide.
They all say, well, he's not spraying then.
He is. No, there's spray coming out of it.
And even Rack says, why is he doing over to town? But he eventually heads right for Rack and the others at the garage. And he crashes into the gas station and he gone.
In a big explosion where the pesticide would be released into the air.
Yes, would be a horrible tragedy. And Rack, they all run in to start to save him. And Rack says, and I quote, it's no use. He's dead. It's all over.
But it's leaking poison everywhere now.
I don't know. Is parathion, is it, flammable and dispersed as...
Why don't you talk to
smoke?
The people? Where in Ohio?
Palestine.
Yes. It's not good. That's not good.
Got back to the sheriff's office. They try to call the Colby farm, but no one answers. But we see what's going on, and Birch is being overrun by spiders. She's trying to shoot them all with her .357 Magnum or whatever it is she's got. Big revolver.
Shoots one that's right on her hand.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she shot her hand, Karen.
I'm pretty sure she did too.
Although I think if she did, a finger or two would be missing, but whatever.
Agreed.
So Rack says he's going to go out and get Terry and Linda and bring them into town. Because, of course, that's where it's safe, in town.
Yeah, I don't understand that, but...
Cut to Linda swinging on the swing, surrounded by tarantulas underneath her.
But she hasn't seen him.
Nope.
Because Terry's calling her to come in and she's just saying, she's being a typical child. 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. No, I don't want to come.
Terry looks out the window, sees all the tarantulas, and she runs out there in a panic.
With a broom.
Runs out and gets Linda off the swing. There are spiders everywhere. And the spiders attack Terry as she's carrying Linda. She falls and yells at Linda to run inside.
She sacrifices herself. We should say these are 99% real spiders.
Yeah.
They're using real spiders. Just
99. Yeah. A lot of them are.
Yeah.
There's a note about it later.
When you're watching this, these people really are covered in spiders, and they do not treat the spiders well in this movie.
Rack and Diane arrive. Rack runs in the house and saves Linda. He checks on Terry on his way back to the car.
Briefly.
But she gone. Rack and Diane run back to the truck. I don't know what Diane was doing while Rack was in there saving Linda.
He told her to stay in the car.
That's right. As you do.
And she did.
But she got out apparently because they get back to the cab and there's tarantulas all in the cab. So she got out for some reason. But Rack wipes them all away. They get in the car and drive away. So we're at the Washburn cabins or the lodge, and they can't get anyone on the 1942 phone.
No, they cannot. With the operator in town. Ringy, ringy, ringy.
You know, but this is like, this is a 1942 phone.
We need to crank it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they tell Emma, who owns the Washburn place, that the spiders have formed an army and they want her to lock up and they're going to evacuate. Just then the Johnsons come running in saying, there are spiders everywhere.
And for some reason at this point, Diane says that the fire extinguishers will kill them.
Yeah, chemical fire extinguishers.
Yes.
So Rack and Diane go out to investigate, and there are spiders everywhere.
They're organized and watching them.
They hear a scream. I think Rack sends Diane back into the lodge while he goes to find out who screamed.
Emma is off looking for
Joe.
Fred.
Is it Fred?
I think it's Fred. But when Rack runs to investigate, he has to run while avoiding the spiders. It's pretty funny, I thought.
Yeah, everyone, as they're walking and running around these live spiders, do make a good effort not to kill them. You know what I mean?
At that point, yes. He's trying, but it is kind of funny how he runs to try not to step on them.
Yeah, I thought that was good, right? I mean, don't need to kill a bunch of spiders to make your damn movie, but so they were at least trying there. So Rack goes and it's Emma who screamed, and Fred, he gone. He's covered in spider webs. Next, the sheriff arrives at the lodge, and he appears to miss all the spiders as he's driving in, which I thought was odd, but he does this time. And he tells them that Birch Colby was all wrapped up in a cocoon when he got out to the farm. And she gone.
Yeah, and that's when Diane says the cocoons are how they're storing their food. So they're not hungry right now, but they're saving it for later, leftovers.
And the sheriff gets on the 1942 phone and tries to call Mildred, who I guess is the operator. And we cut to see her, and she gone too. She's all wrapped up in a spider web. Then the sheriff and Emma, I wrote, share a moment.
Yes, Emma does say earlier when Diane was in the bar that Emma and the sheriff had a little thing back in the day, maybe, but not for a while. But they still are fond of each other, it looks like.
Sheriff's going back into town. Diane tells them that chemical fire extinguishers will kill the tarantulas off. Make sure he gets plenty of them. And we cut to Emma making dinner, making a stew or something. And tarantulas begin to invade the kitchen, falling from the exhaust fan.
They did make good sounds when they dropped.
Rack comes in and hits them with the fire extinguisher.
Yeah, that's what I think. They actually killed him with the fire extinguisher. He does get bit at this point.
So Rack tells them to get some wood so he can seal off the entrances to keep the spiders out. Sends Mr. Johnson down to the basement to get some wood.
I said it's not looking good for Mr. Johnson, but he makes it.
That's what I thought too, but then
I thought for sure.
Then Rack comes down and tells them to forget it. They're getting the hell out of there. Then they hear Linda scream. Rack runs up and saves Linda from all the spiders around her in her room.
I mean, they were real spiders. And the little girl, I don't know how old, would you say she's 4? Maybe somewhere around in that age.
I was going to say 6.
I think that's
Whatever.
a little old, but she's got to sit on a bed covered in tarantulas.
She's standing, but same diff.
Well, still.
So Rack wants to make a run for it. Diane doesn't think that's a good idea. There are too many.
Well, he opens the door and about
spiders.
50 of them come in. So, Yeah,
Rack opens the door and it's covered with spiders on the outside, and several of them come into the lodge, and here they begin to stomp on them and hit them with the fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Although I don't know that they were real. Right.
And I don't know. They don't really show them squishing them.
No. So then Rack looks out the window and there are spiders everywhere. But I wrote, at this point, some of them aren't moving.
Right.
They're in the grass and they're obviously rubber spiders. We don't get a good long shot of them. They go by as quick. So then spiders begin coming down the fireplace, Karen. So inside the lodge, they all begin to break furniture to start a fire in the fireplace. Sheriff arrives in town. Chaos and pandemonium, I wrote, Karen.
Yes. It's chaos. That's what I wrote. And they're trying to get in his car.
Yeah, I know.
I don't really get what. Well, I guess maybe to get in and get out of town. I don't know.
Can't they run to their own car and get in and get out of town?
And there are people encased in spider webs laying around.
Yeah.
Which you'd think that would take a while, but look, Mom, I'm in a movie.
Everyone's running for their lives. They surround the police car. I'll bet the sheriff feels like Paul McCartney right now.
Yeah. Everybody is screaming.
And I wrote,
that's an oldie reference.
That is. And then we see the mayor, and I don't think the mayor's going to make it, I wrote. And no sooner did I get those words out of my mouth, but he is hit by a car, Karen. The same car that we saw earlier at the gas station, the makeshift pickup truck.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
It was the same car. And he gone. And then the same car hits the water tower, and it falls on top of the sheriff and his police car. And he gone. Back at the lodge, they're burning everything they can find in the fireplace, Karen.
Yeah, and it's getting hot in there.
For some reason, Rack opens a door that goes up into the attic or something.
It's getting really hot.
Yeah?
And so, well, and Emma says the air conditioning's on.
Yeah.
So he goes to see if something's blocking the vent.
Oh.
For the air conditioning.
Oh, so it's the vent.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And what do you think's blocking the vent? So when he goes to open the vent,
spiders all fall on top of Betty. And they still can't get anyone on the phone, Karen.
But they squish the spiders and he covers that vent with a piece of wood. So eventually they're going to suffocate themselves if they clog every hole in the whole place and they're burning a fire.
Oh, the fire goes up the chimney, Karen.
For now.
So then I wrote, spiders begin breaking through glass, ?
Yes, that's what happens.
That's what it looks like. They're all like the planes of glass on the windows are covered with spiders, and they appear to be, I don't know, doing something seismic to crack the glass. I don't know.
Well, it's how they communicate. They tap their feet.
Okay.
They do.
All right. So they get hammer and nails, and they all board up the windows with wood.
Well, I should say spiders do. I don't know that some spiders do. I don't know if all of them do, and I don't know if tarantulas do. Speaking of which, you want to guess how many known species of spiders there are?
Known species of spiders. I'm going to say 1,598.
Not even close. 45,000 known species of spiders. It's hard to think. That's a hard, but habitats all over the world.
It's a little low.
I don't know where the natural habitat of a tarantula is. Do you?
I don't know, but apparently it's 600 miles away from Valle Verde, Arizona.
So Mexico?
Probably. So they board up the windows, and then the lights begin to flicker. See spiders on the fuse box. Fuse box sparks. Power goes out. Rack sends everyone to the kitchen. He's going to go down to the basement to check the box. Takes the flashlight and fire extinguisher with him.
I will say I was impressed that this flashlight actually stayed on. He didn't have to like smack it or anything, because the flashlight always gives out in these movies. So that was impressive.
Down in the basement, Rack sees spiders attacking a rat.
So much for natural predators.
We see the fuse box covered with spiders. He tries to use the fire extinguisher, but wow, it empty.
Did you see the kind of fuses he was changing?
Yep. He does find the blown fuse, the kind you screw in, Karen.
Yep.
Looked like the base of a light bulb.
Couldn't you put like a penny or a dime in there and it would work again? I vaguely remember my dad saying that when I was a kid. Could make it work for a while. Yeah, but you could get it, the lights back on and then replace the fuse.
He does find the blown fuse and replaces it because you always kept spares right on top of the box, Karen.
You did?
Yeah, I know. The lights come on. See spiders on the light bulb starting to smoke.
In the free hanging light bulb, that from the basement where you have to like click it on. Everybody had that at some point, the free hanging one. Yeah, and they're getting a little hot because those light bulbs get hot. They do start smoking.
Light bulb explodes, and just then the basement window opens up right behind Rack, and a bunch of spiders drop on top of him.
I was like, oh my God, they're going to kill him.
And here I wrote, I don't think he's going to make it. Because he stops on the stairs and falls and just lays there with all these spiders on him. Meanwhile, upstairs,
they're cramming towels in every hole.
Yeah, they're sealing up the windows. And somehow I wrote Rack makes it upstairs, but he has been bitten several times.
Like hundreds, if you count the number of spiders on him, but whatever.
Well, his face is swollen in a couple spots. That's all I know where he got bit.
And Diane says to get something. I don't know what she says.
I don't either. I tried to rewind it to listen. I couldn't hear.
Yeah, something to neutralize the venom.
Land something.
I couldn't.
That's what that sounded like.
Couldn't figure it out.
Like lanolin or something like that. I don't know. And we cut next morning, Karen, because the sun's coming up. See the clock. It's 6 a.m. Emma gets up and she has to have her coffee.
Maybe it was baking. Remember when you used to make a paste out of baking soda and slap it on a bee sting? I wonder what that was for. Was that to make it not itch, or did it draw out the venom or something? We used to do that all the time.
I know. I think it was more for the itch.
All right. Sorry. Proceed. I used to do that before I went into anaphylactic shock. We used to joke, yeah, we'd get stung all the time. If mom was around, or if mom wasn't around, you whipped up your baking soda paste, slapped it on there, and went about your day. If you saw mom, you cried because you could get a little comfort, Oh, I got stung. Oh, running barefoot in the grass is something I miss a lot. Emma needs her coffee. Go on. Sorry, just a little side note.
I was just reminiscing about the days when I would ride my bike through the neighborhood and we'd find a yellow jacket nest in the ground, and all of a sudden we were Evel Knievel and we were jumping that nest. Got a few stings in my ankles.
They're mean.
But anyway, the others are trying to get an old radio working. They get it working, but there's no news of the spiders, just country music.
So it seems like this event is isolated, at least then. And Rack wants to go outside and take a look. And Diane's like, even if you just crack the door a little, you could let hundreds of them in. So Emma has a good idea.
Look out the window. If they would have broken the glass, we would have heard it.
Because they've boarded up all the windows.
So then the DJ plays Peaceful Verde Valley. He says, it's a wonderful place to live. So then Rack unboards one of the windows to look out, and he says, and I quote, "Good God, sweet Jesus." We see that the entire lodge and the town is covered in spider webs. The end.
So it doesn't matter because they're all dead from the poison anyway, but whatever.
Credits. And in the credits, I did write that V. Neal was listed under makeup.
Okay. Do you know that?
Yeah,
name?
she's famous makeup artist. Yeah.
Oh, okay. For like horror?
Yep.
Oh.
She was a judge on the sci-fi show Face Off, and they all had to make makeups on faces and whatever.
Oh, that sounds cool.
She was a judge. V. Neal. She's an Oscar winner. I think she won an Oscar for Titanic. Seems like we've had this conversation before too.
I'm sure we have.
All right,
We've
Karen.
been known to repeat ourselves, but alcohol is involved. So what do you expect?
All right, Karen, what were you pleasantly surprised by in this film, if anything?
Well, the animal acting was amazeballs. I mean, what's that association that awards animal actors? Remember with the cat that we talked about? You looked up the cat.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I thought they did the main animals. I do think they killed a lot of spiders in this movie.
Yeah, I didn't make a note, but I do remember seeing some guts squishing as the cars rolled over them later at the end of the film.
Yeah,
But that was the only time. So there was at least one, or I saw one at least. So I'm sure there were more.
And I don't know how they collected them all afterwards I don't know. I mean, it's a 1977 movie and there were not the same regulations and everything, I'm sure, that we have
I'm
now,
sure
but
that all the scenes in town and everything was on a closed set on a studio lot. So
still, they can climb up walls and stuff, This is one of those movies where I didn't really like anything particularly, but I didn't really not like anything. There's nothing exceptional about it, but except for the poison, which annoyed me.
You mean like the DDT stuff?
Well, no, that he flew the plane into town with all the chemicals on it, and nobody even says anything about that.
Parathion.
It was definitely an environment forward movie.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever wrote it had some views about pesticides, and I like that the facts are pretty accurate throughout the whole thing. I do like that, the scientist is a female.
Okay.
But they mention a couple of things that are true. I can't remember. I don't know if I have it or not. They used proper terms. So they did a little research, which is nice. They didn't just make shit up. What about you? Did you like anything?
Well, I can tell not that I liked it, but I can tell you I was pleasantly surprised by William Shatner's acting. I thought he was pretty good.
It wasn't distracting.
No.
It didn't seem, you didn't notice that he was
didn't
bad.
Talk like this, like he does a lot of the time.
Yeah. Do you think that he got that later?
I don't know, Karen.
Was this before or after Star Trek?
This is after.
And he did talk like that on Star Trek.
Yeah. So
I didn't watch a lot of them, but yeah, he wasn't terrible. Diane had a very Charlie's Angels look about her.
She did.
But that's 70s. So,
Yeah, I looked her up, Tiffany Bowling. She's basically known for being in a lot of films that became cult classics.
Really? She
was
fine.
Yeah, and she was in TV shows and other things too, but
I think
1972 she was in Playboy magazine, Karen.
That's not surprising. She was pretty. She has that very 70s glamour look.
With her sunglasses, blue scarf and white slacks and white blouse, driving her 1977 Mercedes-Benz 450 SL convertible.
Scientists don't make that kind of money.
Yeah, I agree. There's not a lot I really liked. There wasn't a lot I didn't like either. It's what you expect, right? It's probably better than I expected, honestly.
It was a little better than I expected, but it's pretty on par. It's the kind of movie that you would watch on a rainy Saturday afternoon, Sci-Fi Channel. This is the kind of, my mom loved these movies, so they always remind me of her. The mutant something or other. These weren't mutants exactly. They were just resistant to pesticides and their food source had been taken away. They weren't giant spiders.
No.
Or anything like that, but they were organized into armies and kind of gaining intelligence along the way. So this is the kind of movie my mom would watch. We'd come home, this would be on the TV.
I was a little surprised when they first started the whole environmental DDT thing, but then I thought about it, I'm like, I'm not shocked when I think about it, but
Well, some of those were very bad. You need a lot of foresight to know what's going to happen, and you're guessing a lot.
I liked Rack's truck, Karen.
Did you?
It was a 1976 F-250 Ford. Did you notice?
I did not.
Yep, 1976 F-250. Any idea what one of those goes for now, Karen, since I missed it during the...
20,000.
Median is 18.4.
It's pretty good.
Up to 31.
They're probably pretty common. I bet a lot of people had them.
Yeah.
You think? Yeah.
But Colby's, his was like an old 50s F series.
Yeah, I like those.
I think we talked about in an early episode. So anything you hated? Nothing in particular?
Just the plane with the poison.
Yeah.
But other than that, not particularly.
I was a little disappointed they, killed a spider or two, honestly.
True. I agree. And we should say the ending, you don't know what happens, so there is sequel potential.
Right. Yeah.
Which I should have mentioned, and I do like that. These are the kind of movies, though, and I was wondering, since the female scientist, she gets separated from the group and then she's encased in the spider webs and she becomes the queen. That's much more campy. But these kind of movies, that's a lot of times they'll go in that direction where we see at the end, she's encased in the webs, but she's breathing, or something. And she's the new leader or whatever. But this one didn't go that way. So it was a lot less campy than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, me too. Karen, what kind of cocktail rating you want to give this film?
Well, even though I didn't love it or hate it, I still think it's 4. But it's a fine movie.
I agree. Just because we've given lots of better films 3s. So
yeah. But I think it will surprise you, considering the subject matter and that William Shatner's in it. I think if you watch it, you'll be pleasantly surprised by the whole thing. I thought it dragged a little in the beginning, but it's not bad.
No. Anything we learned today?
We've got how many species of spiders there are.
We got black leg, what you can expect to experience if you are bitten by a tarantula.
Excellent.
What an entomologist is. What venom does to your blood, a little bit about the pesticide parathion, and how many species of spiders there are.
Oh, this was
not to mention the value of a 1977 Mercedes-Benz 450 SL and a 1976 F-250.
This was highly educational.
What more do you want, people?
It's highly educational. We can't give more than that, Greg. I mean...
And it's William Shatner's birthday, and he is freaking 92 years old.
So raise a toast. A full glass, not water and not empty, if you've listened to our wicked ramblings about superstitions, to Mr. William Shatner.
Bill.
As Greg. Greg's close. Calls him Bill.
All right. What'd you think of the spider venom cocktail, Karen?
This might be one of my favorites.
I haven't seen you drinking it.
It's here. I've drank it. I like the cinnamon and the apple.
Well, they are. It's like Apple Jacks, Karen.
Yes. Can't go wrong with that.
It is good. There. It's gone.
Evaporated.
All right, Karen. Next film, I believe it's your choice, Karen.
That it is.
What film have you chosen for us next week? March the 29th.
I have chosen the 1981 film masterpiece, Happy Birthday to Me.
Happy Birthday to Me from 1981. I think I see what you did there, Karen. But why did you pick this film, Karen?
Because upcoming is my birthday week, Greg.
It is?
Yes, it is. I'm leveling up.
I don't suppose you want to tell everyone what level you're going to.
No, I'll let them guess.
Do you have a cocktail, Karen?
I do.
Have you seen this film before?
No, I have not.
So you have not. Going in blind?
As usual.
1981. That's a good year, though.
It's a slasher. That's all I know about it.
What kind of cocktail we got?
The birthday cake martini.
What are we going to need for that, Karen?
There are a lot of birthday cake martini drinks.
Are there?
Yes. So this is the one you're going to have to find.
Okay.
You're going to need 3 ounces of cake-flavored vodka, 3 ounces of clear cream to cacao, 2 ounces of amaretto, 2 ounces of heavy whipping cream, and 1 ounce of white chocolate liqueur. And then as garnish, and it's optional, you need some honey and then multicolored sprinkles. It's a lot of alcohol.
Sounds sweet.
Yeah. Well, it's birthday cake.
It would even be better if we had to put some 151 on top and light it.
Yeah.
All right. Happy birthday to me from 1981 with a birthday cake martini. So I guess we're going to put this in a martini glass.
Yes. That is going to stand out in our repertoire of drinks. Because we got Dracula's blood, spider venom, birthday cake martini.
We have a couple like that in the recipe, Dan, that stand out.
They're probably all from me.
All right, Karen, anyone you need to thank for this episode?
I'd like to thank our listener for taking the time to listen to the podcast. There are a lot of podcasts out there. Thank you for spending time with us. Who would you like to thank, Greg?
Karen, I need to thank the great people of the Lone Star State and the band Verse 13 for providing all of the music in the Scary Spirits podcast.
The music definitely makes the podcast better.
Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Hey, it's Karen, and I'm here to talk to you about getting social with us. Did you know you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast? Or check out our website, scaryspirits.com. If you have something to say, email us at info@scaryspirits.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening. Please drink responsibly.